Welcome to the Resident Podcast. Sorry we're late. We were just having the most fabulous chat behind the
Good
scenes
morning.
about Diana Ross, the heat of the UK, and how Chris Graeme, the Essential Business, is glad to be back here in the relative cool of Portugal. Welcome and thank you for joining us, Chris.
Thanks very much.
Good to have you here. How was Diana? How was Lady Ross?
Well, I have to say, for 82, she's still pulling the crowds. People don't care that she can't really sing anymore. But when she did reach out and touch somebody's hand, everybody grabbed everybody's hand and everybody knew the words.
Oh, beautiful.
And you know what was amazing? There were people there from at least 4 generations. So you had the generations from the 60s. I was speaking to elderly couples there that remember her from the Supremes.
Wow.
You had generations from the 70s when she was doing all her disco stuff like Love Hangover and Upside Down.
Oh, my favorite. That's a banger, isn't it?
You had people from the kind of 80s and 90s that remembered Chain Reaction.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, with the Bee Gees backing her up.
You had all these young, like, I don't know, 20, 21-year-olds all cheering her on. So it was quite an atmosphere, and it was a multi-generational thing.
Beautiful.
And, she gave an hour and a half, and she gave a good concert with a lot of help from backing singers. And of course, her daughter, who's also a jazz singer, had to help her off the stage at the end.
Oh, bless her. Bless her. Well, how wonderful. And of course, you've seen her in Estoril. You've seen her
once or twice in Portugal. I was invited by the then CEO of EMI, Valentim Carvalho in Portugal, David. Well, I begged him as a journalist. He said, well, there's no press passes. And I said, David, this is my favorite singer since I was 8 years of age. I said, if you don't let me go to that concert, I will die.
At that point, he's like, okay, calm down. Tranquilo.
He did, and I was sat right at the front with the lead singer of Ala dos Namorados, who I think is dead now, I think.
Oh.
Nuno something or other. And Lily Canesses, I was on the same table with Lily Canesses.
You are so showbiz, Chris Graeme. He comes across as a business guy, but he's actually top showbiz quality, isn't he, Natasha?
No, it was good.
Absolutely.
But I've got to say, I'm so pleased to be back here because we have a day here when it's in the 20s. Yesterday in England, I'm not joking. I was in Essex.
Wow. Political hotspot.
By 9 o'clock in the morning, it was already in the early 30s. And by the time I left to catch my flight, it was a soaring 36.
My goodness. Some say you were masterminding Reform's political strategy, Chris, in Clacton. Is there any truth in the rumour?
Well, I think, Clacton is I spent a lot of time in Essex, and particularly at my university years, and Essex and Clacton has always been very, very conservative with a small c. And it has a lot of problems. I mean, it has a big retirement population, which isn't a problem, but those people tend to vote for right-wing groups, like Farage. He won, as you know. Mm-hmm. But what was surprising is this bin face, this bin character got 16,000 votes. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yes, this is where people are at, right? This is where people are at.
Well, this just shows like how people don't take politics seriously anymore. They just don't care.
Yeah, a man dresses up as a bin and pretends to be from outer space and gets 16,000 votes, it would appear. Well, Chris, thank you for being here. Let's get started with our news review then, bring things back to Portugal here. And you're talking to us about a complaint of anti-Semitism at the University of Coimbra, I think.
Well, I am. And, I'm vehemently against, any attacks on groups because of religious persuasion. And I just feel that what's happening here is there is a complete conflating of what's going on with the settlements in Gaza and the Jewish communities that are minding their own business living here in Portugal, which have lived peacefully and have given a great, have made a great contribution, really, to the business community here in Portugal. I just think it's just very sad that this has been blown out of all proportion.
But it looks like it's been blown out of proportion by the fact that the student who made these claims that he could not substantiate has put in the legal claim. It's not the university making a fuss about this.
No. I'm not saying the university is making. I'm just saying that it's kind of been blown out of proportion, perhaps a little bit in the media in general, the Portuguese media. It's like, why is this such big news, really? Because one student put in this claim.
Natasha wrote the story. We can ask her directly, Natasha. Natasha,
we have to say why it's big news. I'll tell you why it's news. Because yes, we're hearing constantly these horrible reports of Israeli oppression in the West Bank and in Gaza. But not just that. We occasionally have the Israeli ambassador popping up here and saying things like, you shouldn't be having Kanye West. I mean, people who want to see Kanye West, they should be able to. It's a free country, for goodness sakes. You're not going to start saying just because he said some dreadful things, he can't perform. I know they did this out of being awfully nice in, I suppose, France and England, but we're not as disappearing up our own bottoms as those countries. And to be honest, I think that the Jewish community brings a lot of the trouble on themselves by constantly complaining. And I'm not saying this as a critic, because my dad was Jewish. I mean, when I say Jewish, his parents were Jewish, but they'd fled Europe, and they came here with a bunch of other people. They all called themselves Don because they came from the Don Valley in what I guess is now Ukraine, but at the time was Russia. And he always used to say, oh, the Jews and their bleeding stumps. You know, they're always complaining. They're always saying we're being persecuted. He said, you know, they've got to stop complaining.
Well, must be a balance here, though. There's a justifiable a concern, isn't there? And this is what we're talking about. I think we're talking about that line right now, aren't we? Chris, do I get the sense that you would have rather not seen Kanye West play in Portugal?
Well, to be honest, not to make these kind of... I'm fed up of pop stars. Pop stars are there to entertain and to sing. I'm fed up of pop stars making...
Like Diana, yes.
Making political... No, Diana Ross would never make a political statement.
No, she wouldn't.
Never. And any, you know, if you are an entertainer, you should not be using... I mean, I get fed up with Lady Gaga as well, to be honest. You know, they're there to entertain. They're there to do their job, which is to sing. They're not there to be politicians and make political statements. I get fed up with Meryl Streep. I don't like Donald Trump, but I don't want Meryl Streep.
You're quite right. But I mean, most people wouldn't even want to go and see Kanye West. I mean, he looks, and I haven't really even heard.
You weren't there, Natasha.
No, of course not. Just to look at him, and I thought, oh God, no, that's.
Now, can I ask a question on this? Because you might know the answer to this better than me, and perhaps Chris as well. I don't know, but did Portugal take a political stance on this? Did they say this is about free speech, he must play, or was it much more pragmatic than that?
No, they just thought it was a good way of getting in crowds and making money.
I think it's about. I think you're absolutely right, Natasha. I think Portugal doesn't take. I mean, Portugal
they just want to make money and be popular.
Portugal was never going to ban this.
No.
Right.
You know, okay, he came in, but what does Kanye West know about? I mean, what does he honestly know about the Holocaust, or what does he really know about? How many? I would like to know how many Jewish people he knows for a start.
Yeah, but who cares? I mean, as you say, look at the guy. I mean, he looks like a sort of dinner plate, doesn't he? I mean, he doesn't look interesting. I don't know what his music is like, but if he's a rapper, it's not really music, is it? It's just...
Well, you have to be very careful
here
now, Natasha. You have to be very, very careful, because actually there are a lot of people and music critics that say rap is very, very complicated and extremely clever. I mean, if you look at Doja Cat, and you look at some of her lyrics, and to be able to sing like that and to actually speak like that so quickly and mix it with pop. I mean, she does everything. She can even sing almost like the standards. Yeah. She's an incredibly talented performer, and she does a lot of rap.
But she doesn't talk about the Holocaust.
No, she doesn't, but she's a great rapper. So I think rap is very important. If you look at the history of rap and where it came from,
okay.
You know, and actually it goes back even to the 1970s and the Sugar Hill Gang.
My goodness, I think we need to do a music special with you, Chris Graeme. This is incredible what's coming out this morning. But let's come back to the University of Coimbra. What's going on there? What's actually happening?
So we know. Well, most of us know what's going on. I mean, basically, there have been some. There's been some graffiti. It's absolutely right and some slogans that have been posted all over The university, including Zionists, should carry a certificate to prove they are human, and beware of Zionists. So this issue of Greater Israel and Zionism is very, very, very keenly felt by quite large swathes of young, educated people of all classes. I do understand their concerns, but I'm going to say what irritates me now, and I'm going to, because I've got a lot of Jewish friends, and most of them are really successful people because they've worked bloody hard. They weren't like me at university, sat in the student park getting pissed. They were working hard, and they got 2 ones and firsts. They know what they're doing, because they're taught that from a very early age. You can't mess around with life. And they're incredibly moral people on virtually, I couldn't even follow the Torah, let alone live my life by it. I mean, they've got 73 tenets. It's very, very difficult. And you know what? They look after each other, unlike Christians that tend to stab each other in the back.
In this case, how can you sort of compare that with somebody who says to the university, gives all these allegations, there is no corroboration anywhere, and then he says, if you give me 3 million
the university should tell him where to go, obviously.
Well, exactly, they did. But in other words, this is just ridiculous. He made all those bleeding stump complaints, and there was no corroboration, and then he asked for 3 million.
But this is just one person, Natasha, and the problem
but I think that it is just one person, but there's been so much. I mean, look at the way the world is in such a mess, largely because it looks like Israel persuaded America to go into this blinking war. We're all up a gum tree as a result.
Well, we are, Natasha, but you see, the problem is I see all these huge demonstrations in London and in Lisbon, actually, complaining about this. And yes, the right to protest is there. And yes, that they have very, very clear and tangible reasons for being against what Israel is currently doing. But you see, I don't see big crowds coming out against Putin, you see, which is a problem for me, because I studied Russian for 4 years at university. I've lived in Russia, and I think what Putin is doing is actually not very far from what Hitler was doing, to be quite frank with you. Without the genocide, but we can argue about that as well with the genocide, actually, in the Ukrainians.
Well, of course he's doing a genocide. He's killing all
yes, he is, but where are the crowds? Because people don't care about that, do they? But they go wild about what's going on in Israel. Do you see what I'm saying here? Why are people so obsessed?
The equivalency.
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose because Putin isn't looking for validation all the time. He doesn't care what the West thinks about him, but Israel is. Israel is always saying you should love us and you shouldn't be nasty. Do you see what I mean? Israel is always looking for people to be nice to them. Putin couldn't care less.
Right, we have to move on. We have to move. Very, very interested in your comments, please, in the comments section here. We need to move on from this particular news item. That is the complaint of anti-Semitism at University of Coimbra, which has brought about a wide-ranging discussion. Find out more about the specifics of that at the Portugal resident, portugalresident.com. Let's move on to. You were talking about this is one person. Sorry, that was a bit of a clunk, wasn't it? Moving on from such a big news item and point there to something else. But that's what we do here. We are talking about three news items.
It's not a big news item, really, is it, Chris?
Well, no, the topic in general. The topic in general.
I just chose it to get on my soapbox, really. I mean, I have to admit.
Oh, okay.
And it was just a bit different. Rather than picking something business, oriented.
Yes.
Bore everybody to death.
Well, I will be doing that as well. I will be co-opting the platform for my purposes as well, about the limitations of people not speaking Portuguese in Portugal. But before we go there, another of your stories, I think, here, Natasha, and the tourism impossible impact of a tourist being shot in the Baixa district, amplifying concerns of residents and shopkeepers. I was in Lisbon last night. It was fantastic. What a place. What a fantastic city this is. And I agree, I think, with the mayor, Carlos Moedas, who was really surprised that the person who had, I think, we need to get this into some sort of context. Not that it wasn't a horrific thing, but these were people fighting, some gang members fighting with it. Were they, Natasha? And somebody was like an innocent bystander was shot.
What they call an historia mal contada. We haven't got all the facts in the press, or it hasn't been. But it looks like these two guys have a family dispute. It may be that they are from gypsy families. That wasn't made clear. Nothing was made clear. But there's a family dispute. The original story was that they were having an argument about, they both sell pressed bay leaves and pretend that they're hashish, and they kind of try and sell them in the Baixa district to tourists who might think that they're buying hashish, but they're actually buying pressed bay leaves.
Okay, if you're making a bolognese, but not if you want to
exactly.
relax.
Apparently,
Right,
Initiativa. Okay. I heard on the radio this morning, Initiativa Liberal are trying to bring in a law against selling pressed bay leaves, and I thought this is getting.
That'd be an outrage from the Italian community, presumably of Lisbon, if that's the case.
Exactly. But anyway, these two guys were. The original story was these two guys were having an argument. One drew a gun and let off a shot that missed his target, which was standing in front of him. So that doesn't sound very plausible.
Too much pressed bay leaf. Too much pressed bay leaf, perhaps.
Right. I think then I heard that there were actually more than one shot, and that in fact the other guy also drew a gun. Obviously, there was some sort of skirmish, and this poor woman fell to the ground. The two guys then went off together in the same car, so they couldn't have been so badly furious with each other. Goodness knows why they thought they had to settle it with guns. They went off in their car. The gun has never been found, and the reason this chap was let off was because he wasn't brought before the judge because of the shooting, because they didn't actually have any proof because they couldn't find the gun.
Right, literally no smoking gun. My goodness.
Exactly.
But this poor woman, a Swedish tourist, I think, Natasha, who was minding her own business, having a wonderful time in Lisbon.
Woman. Well,
and that's the thing, isn't it? This is what we don't want to happen. I drove through Chiado, Príncipe Real last night because my daughter's here, and she was out with her partner having a fantastic time in the city, which I encouraged them to do. And we don't want this. I think Moeda, she's absolutely right. The message to tourists and the world is like, if people behave like this, shooting each other in our city, they should be banged up, locked up, not released soon after the incident, because it sends out the wrong message for visitors to the country.
Everything sends out the wrong message. The fact that these people are freely circulating in this area all the time and upsetting shopkeepers. And this one shopkeeper in the story, I think, that I wrote yesterday, she said that she had written in February, was it, or March? It certainly was some months ago, to the Minister of Interior Administration, the guy who's being hounded for having a green swimming pool and many other things, and to the mayor. And neither of them have replied to her. And actually, it is a very important situation, because this is a key tourist area. And Lisbon is, after all, meant to be a hub for this and a hub for that. And everybody goes there for a quick, whatever they call it, an escapadinha, a weekend, a wonderful weekend.
A city break.
So you want to keep it as a welcoming place, not a place where you may get shot when you're selecting cakes.
Exactly. So, or trying to buy bay leaves, for that matter.
Exactly. Indeed. Even if you're trying to buy pressed bay leaves.
Yes.
So it's very worrying. And hopefully the fact that this has happened will start to bring a better form of policing. But what we don't need, of course, is that really muscled type of policing where they strut around and start hitting all the young kids like they sometimes do in Albufeira, which is terrible.
Yes. I did see a tourist urinating on a police wagon and having that sort of behaviour immortalised on social media. It does send out a good message, though, doesn't it? Don't come to Albufeira and behave badly, but perhaps a little too brutal for your taste, Natasha. Chris, do you see yourself as a Lisboetan? Do you have a view on this? How things might have changed a little bit in the capital?
I think Lisbon is one of the safest cities
in
Europe. I've never felt unsafe here. I've never been personally the victim of an attack, whereas when I was in London, my car got stolen 3 times by joyriders. I got attacked and robbed like minutes from where I was living in Battersea in broad daylight. I've never had any problems here. Yes, crime exists, of course. And in this case, there was a kind of a gypsy link here, which will fuel, no doubt, Shager's. It will be, fuel for the fire of Shager, of course. But generally speaking, I think it's an unfortunate incident, but we're not saying a wave of incidents.
No, absolutely. We must send, if the government or the local government and the judge won't send out that message, we can't we? That it is a fabulous city.
We haven't had a wave of shootings of tourists, obviously, but we are having a wave in the Baixa district of crime. And this is what these poor shopkeepers are saying. They're saying that now even people's cars are being smashed into and things taken out much more frequently. They say they've got pickpockets. They say they've got petty criminals. This is just not good for a district which is, as you say, heaving with tourists at this time of year.
Yes.
Well, they're taking advantage, aren't they? And, if it is increasing, I don't know how much of this is the gypsy community. And I don't know how much of this are organized gangs from elsewhere. Or even Brazilians, because there are Brazilian gangs operating in Portugal.
Oh, there are loads of Brazilian gangs, yeah.
Is it true? I was told this sort of informally that the Portuguese very calm, patient, kind people, but when pushed, there are lines, almost invisible lines, where a pushback will occur. Do you suspect this might be the case here, that the police will say enough is enough in our city, and local people, and push back against this sort of behaviour? Chris, starting with you.
Well, I think all the police were at the airport yesterday, to be honest.
They were, weren't they? What was that about? What was that about?
An hour just to, there I was armed with my Portuguese passport, my UK passport, and my citizen card, but nevertheless, I still had to queue up for a good hour just to get through passport control.
Right.
And that was on 11. That was on a flight arriving at 8:30. So I finally got through the airport at a kind of like almost 9:45. But no, coming back to your question there, I don't know. I mean, in the UK, have you heard about this, by the way? In the UK, they're thinking about introducing shock gloves. Have you heard about these?
No,
Yes.
We're not talking about Michael Jackson or some sort of Hollywood thing here. We're talking about safe peace and crime reduction through shocking. It sounds like a practical joke from the 70s. Tell us more about this, Chris.
It's absolutely true. These are kind of like, they give you an electric shock.
Right.
That's these gloves, but I don't know whether the Portuguese police will be introducing that anytime
My goodness,
soon.
they've already got the guns here, haven't they?
Get it wrong here, and everybody be electrocuted to death.
Exactly.
Well, it would appear in the UK then, thank you for that news from Blighty, the long arm of the law now has an electric glove on the end of it, this long arm of British law. Finally, I want to ask you something, and as I said, this is a personal matter in a way. Don't worry too much. It's not medical advice I'm seeking. It's more about speaking Portuguese, which is what I've been writing about in The Resident recently. And breaking the speak Portuguese spell. I'm encouraging people to really raise the stakes with their learning of Portuguese as foreigners here and take on the idea of becoming conversational rather than just getting their A2 certificate and never saying anything in public, which is often the way, I think. You're both fluent speakers, I believe, of Portuguese. What's your secret and what is your advice to foreigners who are making terrible excuses like, oh, everyone speaks English anyway. I'm too old for this caper. I did try once. It didn't go very well. I'm not going to try again. Natasha, you speak Portuguese beautifully. What's your secret? What do you say to foreigners?
Obviously, when I would say get a girlfriend or a boyfriend who speaks Portuguese, but that's not very easy if you're married.
No, okay. Yes,
but
true.
I would still probably say it quietly.
Oh dear.
I think what you've got to do is you've got to take yourself always out of your comfort zone.
Yes,
and
indeed.
instead of going out for a galão, which most people can't even pronounce themselves, instead of going out with a galão with your friends, go out on your own and try talking.
Yes.
And the other thing, that was a thing I did, because when I first came here, I was 20 something, and I've been very lucky. At school, I'd done Spanish, French, and Latin. So I kind of felt that I understood what was happening. I just didn't really get the vocabulary. So I bought Correr de Manhã, which I still get today. And I used to read it very, very slowly and work it all out.
Did you really?
then
And that
just
worked for you?
Working out what I was hearing, and that's how you pronounce that, and it just worked.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, for me
Okay.
it was the same, and for me it was reading newspapers exactly the same as Natasha said, but also it was watching telenovelas.
Oh yes, the soap operas. Soap operas on Portuguese TV.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, it really worked because you can get the gist of what's going on if you know. And I knew French. I'd studied Italian and I'd studied Spanish, like Natasha. So I could kind of, just looking at the facial expressions and what was going on, you could kind of get the gist, and then you start to assimilate as the telenovela went on. You found you were somehow subliminally understanding more and more and more.
Great advice. Great.
And the other thing, the last piece of advice is this: mix with Portuguese, have Portuguese friends. Now, I made a very concerted decision. I took a decision not to hang out with expats.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think any expats would want to hang out with me. That's the thing.
So I really didn't. Why, Natasha? Are you very strong with your opinions?
I get the feeling she might be. I get the feeling she might be. Yes. Well, okay. So get a Portuguese lover. High risk.
That's really important.
Okay, but a little safer might be to watch the soap operas. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack the other day, Chris. I was watching one of these TV novellas, and a dramatic sequence ensued that I think went into slow motion with all those faces you talk about, with people coming into the room going like this, and it went on. The music was ramping and ramping. Normally, you cut to a break. This went on, and I thought I'm gonna have to turn this off. I can't take this pressure.
Was it Brazilian or Mexican rather than Portuguese?
Maybe it was Brazilian. It was because the Portuguese ones are a little more subdued, are they?
They are, yeah. It sounds like you were watching a dubbed or Brazilian.
I didn't know when it was going to stop.
I take my hat off to you, because I couldn't watch these things at all.
Right.
No, I made myself watch them at that time.
That's very good.
It was the only
I got a lover,
way.
and it was pretty quick and fun.
Quick and fun.
I told my students, when I was an English teacher, I told my advanced students, particularly ones in business, I said, if you want to learn real English, how real English is spoken, and I said, okay, this isn't posh English, but it's English on the street. I said, you've got to watch BBC Prime and watch EastEnders, the omnibus edition, and just watch that every week. And they've never forgiven you. You will pick up all wonderful expressions like swanning around and
get out my pub.
All kinds of phrasal verbs. I said, if you want to get phrasal verbs, just watch EastEnders. You'll get them all there.
What sort of verbs?
Phrasal verbs.
Okay, very good. Phrasal verbs. Thank you for that. Things
like get by, get into, get up to, get down to, get through, get on to. All those verbs, which are very difficult for foreigners to learn, because it makes no sense how get through, I can't get through this meal because there's too much food. Yeah. Or what did you get up to at the weekend? Or let's get down to business, just by changing the preposition. That's very hard.
And very useful if you are getting a Portuguese lover. I'm not sure the lover will be happy with the review, Natasha. Quick and fun, but we shall see.
Oh, no. That it was quick. And when I say it's quick, it was quick to learn and great fun.
Excellent.
I don't mean that the loving was quick.
I'm glad to. Thank you for clarifying.
Can I also just say very, very quickly, apparently the ditado is that the Portuguese say this, that a marriage between a Portuguese and an English person is either a match made in heaven or a match made in hell. There's
no in between. Well, okay, we look for, again, if your comments in the chat, if you are of one of those marriages, an Anglo-Lusophonic relationship, let us know what you think in the comments, please. Chris, Graeme, great to have you here. Thank you very much. And
Thanks
for your review of Diana
Ross.
Ross.
Lovely to see you, Chris.
Lovely
Natasha,
to see you.
Have a great break, and thank you for being here as well. Bon fin de semana to you both, and a
todos. Bon fin de semana.
Bye-bye. Take care. Take care.